You know, it's not easy being a compact SUV, and all of them, this whole segment, has my deepest sympathies. I mean, everyone makes fun of them in the comments for just being hatchbacks on stilts, but that's not their fault. They want to be big, tough, spacious SUVs, but they're forced to live in this sub 4 meter length restriction. And as we'll see a little bit later, that really shows. And it's a similar story under the hood where they want to have big engines with loads of power and many cylinders, but they're forced by regulations to have tiny over-boosted turbo petrol engines or anemic 1.2s. But more than anything else, it's the fact that they have to live in the shadow of their bigger, more desirable, more capable siblings, mid-size SUVs. SUVs that are not restricted by length or by engine size. And worst of all, these days there's quite a bit of price overlap. So yeah, life isn't easy for a compact SUV, but it's harder still for the Hyundai Venue because its bigger sibling is none other than the Hyundai Creta, one of the most prolific mid-size SUVs out there. So yeah, it's got its work cut out for it, but against all odds, the Hyundai Venue has come back for a second generation and it isn't pulling any punches. Now tell me down in the comments what you think about the design and styling of the Hyundai Venue, and while you're down there, like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. Because for me personally, I think I admire it, but I haven't got quite around to loving it just yet. The reason I admire it is because they've done a lot to get all this design and styling into this sub 4 meter package, and you can see that they've really tried to make it look big and tough. For instance, there's a lot of the bigger Hyundais you can see up here at the front. This light bar, like the Creta and the Alcazar, even these DRLs, and that's where the indicators are over there, similar to the bigger SUVs. This prominent slatted grille down here that looks very premium in this dark chrome glossy finish over there, and the brushed metal lower bumper area, which does give it a lot of volume, especially with these vertical design elements down there. You come over to the side, you'll see these two light elements. Those are the headlamps, and this big L-shaped DRL, which I think is a little bit overdone. And you see more of that as you go over to the side, because here is where it starts reminding me of the smaller sibling, the Exter. Yep, these pronounced wheel arches, they're really bulging, bursting at the seams, and it shows that this car is trying to break out of its sub 4 meter restriction. It's growing as wide as possible because it can't grow long. It's also got this prominent black cladding around the wheel arches and 16-inch diamond cut alloy wheels on the standard Venue, and they remind me a bit of the ones on the Creta Electric. I think they look very nice. Compared to the previous Venue, there's a lot more sculpture this time on the side of the bodywork. There's a familiar profile, the familiar window line, as with all Hyundai SUVs, a very prominent roof rail that pops quite a bit high above the height of the car, but like so much sculpture in the doors and this cladding down here that sort of cuts in lower down. It is muscular, and yeah, it does make this car look nice and butch. Similarly, blistered wheel arches over at the rear, but what's new is this quarter glass, which we'll see does have a great effect on the inside, and this little contrast colored applique over here with Venue written on it. It all adds up, it all looks very nice, and it contributes to this car looking bigger than it actually is.
It is actually bigger than the previous car, and although the length remains the same, it is 30 mm wider at 1800 mm, 48 mm taller at 1665 mm, and crucially the wheelbase has grown by 20 mm to 2520 mm.
Now here at the rear, if you see a resemblance to the new Range Rover Sport, you're not wrong, but that just goes to show how much effort they've put into the rear end of this, a compact SUV, let me just remind you. Again, because of that length restriction, they're forced to have a very upright and square boot on these compact SUVs, but they've used a lot of effort and a lot of trickery to make this feel upmarket. Like this sort of 3D glass treatment over here. You see Venue, it's written behind the glass in three-dimensional lettering, and there's also full LED lighting that wraps around the car and runs across this band over here. Even the tailgate, it could have just been a flat piece of metal, but they sculpted it nicely over here, so it looks far more upmarket and premium. But my favorite detail is this bulky little diffuser-like area down here, finished in brushed silver. It again has these vertical appliques in the design that give it a lot more volume, and you'll see down here, that's where the reverse lights are.
और अगर आप इस वीडियो को हिंदी में देखना पसंद करोगे, ट्यून इनटू Autocar India.
And now, before we go ahead, a quick interlude to tell you a little bit about the Venue N-Line and how its design differs from the standard Venue. And it's actually quite a lot. For a start, the grille has only 2 rows of slats rather than 3, and they're of a slightly different design. There is, of course, an N-Line badge down there, and the front bumper is entirely different. Gone is the big, bright silver insert, and in it a more organic and angular looking bumper. In fact, wherever you would have seen bright silver on the standard car, it's been replaced by a sort of dark silver color. It's here on the bumpers, it's on the roof rails, and in other places around the car. This being the N-Line, of course, there is the little red striping and these gloss black inserts down here. Moving over to the side, the changes are even bigger. For one, this car rides on 17-inch wheels, not 16-inch wheels, and that's also made the car ride a little bit higher by about an inch. You'll notice that all the black cladding is gone, replaced instead by this dark grey strip, and I think that looks just a little bit classier. Down here, the black cladding has been taken off from the base of the car as well, replaced by body color for the most part, and the black and red N-line treatment. And finally, you get body colored door handles as opposed to the black ones you get on the standard car. And here, once again, the bright colored silver applique has been replaced by a dark silver one. The similar treatment with the roof rails, and there's a nice red colored accent in the back of them as well. And finally, around the back, where once again there are some key differences compared to the standard car. You get once again a more organic looking bumper down there with those dark grey inserts and gloss black. You also get these cool triangular striped reflectors in the bumper, which I like quite a bit. And more than anything else, you get this amazing looking spoiler. I mean, just look at that. It looks like a rally car, and you're not going to mistake this for anything else if you come up behind it. Finally, the N-Line badge over there, and a pair of big exposed dual exhausts. Now, back to the standard car, and I'll tell you a little bit about the boot. At 375 liters, it's nothing to write home about, and about standard for the class. It's got a pretty high loading lip, but that's necessary for crash protection and rigidity. And underneath here, you will luckily find a full-size spare tire. This is a pretty standard size carry-on bag. And just for reference, that's what it looks like in the boot, to get an idea of how much more you can fit. And of course, if you need more room, the seats split fold 60-40.
In case you're wondering, the new Venue is not based on the same platform as the outgoing car, but rather on the Hyundai Group's global K1 enhanced platform, which is also used by the Kia Ceros. And the biggest benefits of that can be found when you step inside.
Hyundai used to be the high watermark when it came to interior design and quality in pretty much every segment it was in, but of late it hasn't been quite up there, and even something as recent as the latest Creta facelift has disappointed in terms of its design and its plastic quality and even some of its ergonomics, if I'm being completely honest. But now with the new Venue, Hyundai is so back, I gotta say. And where do I start? I mean, just look at this dashboard for a start. It's got this, what Hyundai says is shaped like an H. That's a bit of a stretch, but it does look nice. Motif down the center. It's finished in what they call terrazzo texture. It's not a texture really, it's quite flat, but it looks like terrazzo, the sort of tile or flooring finish you might find in some old classy houses. There's more of that on the doors, which is nice. It's not textured over here either, but it does feel rich at least. But I wish they hadn't used it on the door handles and on the window switches, because that's where you're going to make a lot of contact and that's going to get dirty really, really fast. You'll also notice on the outside AC vents, there's this nice anodized finish. It's not quite silver, it's not quite blue. It's a little bit bronze even. It changes color with the light and it just looks and feels so very rich. What else can we talk about? How about these seats? I really like the design of them. They look like modern, classy lounge chairs. I like the way they finished white on top and black below. Well, it's actually not black. It looks very closely. You see it's a very, very dark, dull blue, and that's again a nice, bold choice. Well, back to the design. It looks like a nice armchair. It's got this neat Venue lettering on one side, just offset. Looks so classy, but I will say that lumbar support is a little bit excessive for me, and although I'm alright, it fits me really well. I've seen larger passengers find this a little bit too small. Nikhil, who's just under 6 feet tall, his shoulder comes up to the headrest, which doesn't seem ideal. But anyway, they're comfy seats, they are ventilated of course, and I think they're quite good on a long drive. There's plenty of storage spaces, there's a nice shelf here, a decent sized glove box, big cup holders, a little cubby down here, a wireless charging tray down there, and even a very small cubby hole down here underneath the armrest. This steering wheel design also, I really like it. It's square, it's new, it's got the 4-dot Hyundai signature, that's H in Morse code. It's a nicely designed steering, quite a thick rimmed steering wheel, and lots of nice clickety physical controls on the steering wheel, which I like. Speaking of which, physical controls galore here on the center console for the AC, and the basic shortcut keys for the infotainment system are also hard keys, and I absolutely love it.
There are illuminated USB-C ports lower down, and around the new gear lever you'll find the electronic parking brake switch, ventilated seat controls, and rotary dial for drive and traction modes, which have been lifted straight out of the Creta. In every aspect, it really seems Hyundai is learning from its past, and in some cases even looking to the past.
Even this key fob, I mean, turn it sideways and you'll see it is the Hyundai logo, and it does look a little bit 2003, but that's what I love about it. It's cool and quirky, it's innovative, and we haven't seen this sort of stuff from Hyundai in a long time, so I'm happy to see it's back.
But design, quality and ergonomics are one thing. The biggest promise of this new K1 enhanced platform is something much bigger.
Now you know what the main event is. It is of course these two screens. A pair of 12.3-inch screens, touchscreen over there, and a digital driver's display in front of me. But the main deal here is that they're brand new hardware and brand new software powered by NVIDIA. Apart from being one of the biggest tech companies on the planet, it is also the company that makes the chips and the graphics card that power high-end PCs. And really, it truly shows. The graphics here are just incredible. So slick, so responsive, so high resolution, and you really do feel like you're in a car from a segment above while you're sitting in front here. Now Hyundai also tells us that the new Venue is its first SDV or software defined vehicle. Now what does that mean? Well, a whole lot more than you might think, because what it means is that all the controllers of the car are software defined. They can be updated over the air, so later on this car can be future proofed to get more features and more capabilities further down the line, and it's not reliant on changing every bit of hardware every time, and that's quite smart. And the biggest thing for a lot of people will be, yes, it's compatible with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto this time around, so you don't have to carry a cable around everywhere you go. And with that, let's take a quick look at some of the features and feature highlights on this new Venue.
The Venue, like all Hyundais, was always well equipped, so there was very little to do with this new version. But that hasn't stopped them from trying, and new to the Venue are of course those dual 12.3-inch screens, which are even bigger than what you get in the Creta and Alcazar. New features borrowed from the Creta are rear window blinds, an 8-speaker Bose sound system, ventilated front seats, and a 360-degree camera system. And while the old Venue did get ADAS, it was only level 1 autonomous and only camera based. This new version gets camera and radar based ADAS features, allowing for level 2 autonomy. And this brings new features like forward collision avoidance, adaptive cruise control, blind spot camera, and exclusive to the N-Line version, rear cross traffic assist and blind spot assist. And while the new Venue hasn't been crash tested yet, Hyundai says it uses a lot more high strength and ultra high strength steel in crucial places this time around, and of course gets all that safety kit. Plus, its platform sibling, the Kia Ceros, did score a 5-star Bharat NCAP crash test rating, so the signs are positive. And the improvements don't stop there.
The back seat was always a Venue weakness, and I'm glad that they have gone to town to address it with this second generation. I mean, first things first, the space. This car is 20 longer in the wheelbase than the previous car. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it really has worked wonders. I'm just under 5'8", that's set to my driving position, and just have a look at how much knee room I have. You can also take a gander as to how much you will have if you're a little bit taller than I am. There's also plenty of space to tuck your entire feet under the front seat, so short of foot room over there, and it's even scooped out down here to give you more knee room. When you lean back, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of headroom. This is a compact SUV, remember, and they've really alleviated a greater sense of space by giving you this quarter glass back here that lets in a whole lot of light. It's made a big difference. Of course, another difference is that this car now has lighter upholstery. It's not quite the same in the end line, which is all black, but it all comes together just a little bit to give you that greater sense of space. As for seat comfort, it is very, very generously cushioned. In fact, like in the front, there seems to be a bit of an excess of lumbar support, but if that's something you like, then that works out well for you. Thigh support is not great. I wish this squab was just a touch longer, but you also do get a two-stage recline function that could sort out comfort for a lot of people. There are adjustable headrests here, but not one in the center, and there's a flip down armrest with cup holders in it. You also get AC vents, although in my usage today they didn't blow a very strong current of air out the back, and really it's not as effective as the front AC. And there are a pair of USB Type-C ports down there. Now, a lot of people will complain that it doesn't have a panoramic sunroof like some of its rivals now do, but I personally think that's okay in a compact SUV. Once you go to a larger SUV, that starts to be a requirement or an expectation. But in this car, I think it's okay, and I think it's helped scoop out this bit of the rear roof to give you that little bit more headroom.
Time to head out onto the road with the new Venue, and the first order of the day is to try out the new addition to its powertrain lineup, the 1.5 diesel with the 6-speed automatic gearbox.
This 6-speed automatic is really the best gearbox for this diesel engine. Don't get me wrong, the manual is good. We've experienced it in a number of Hyundais, including the last Venue before. But this is not the most exciting engine. It is nice and relaxed with lazy torque, and it's perfectly suited to a torque converter automatic like this.
The numbers are good for a compact SUV, and the same as what you'll find in the Creta and a number of Kias. 116 horsepower and 250 Nm of torque. But don't let those figures fool you into thinking this is a punchy powertrain.
Smooth is the name of the game over here, and sure enough, when you're cruising in normal mode or even in eco mode, this is where it feels at its absolute best. You'll want to use sport mode if you're in a little bit of a hurry, because that's the only time where the responses feel really, really responsive, and at certain times even normal won't suffice. You will get frustrated by the amount of time it takes to get going. Now, speaking of which, that sort of lazy drone-like feel at low revs that you get in normal mode, that also exposes you to a lot of the noise this engine makes. This is a diesel after all. You're gonna have to put up with that. That's one of the downsides of a diesel in general. And I suppose in a smaller car like this, it's not quite as well insulated as it is in something like a Creta, so it is ever present in the cabin. Sticking with the gearbox, 6-speed torque converter automatic, it does come with paddle shifters. Now again, I wouldn't bother with them at all. Yes, they do work. There are a lot of restrictions and constraints to when and how you can shift. They don't tell you that very obviously, but it's not eager to upshift or downshift under duress. And frankly, you really don't want to. If you are in a hurry, just put it into sport. But either way, let the car be to its own devices and handle the shifts for you, because this really isn't an engine or a gearbox that likes to be hurried via the paddle shifters. You can also shift manually via the gear lever if that's what you want. Apart from the 3 drive modes, Eco, Normal and Sport, there are also terrain modes for the first time in the Hyundai Venue. These have been inherited from the likes of the Creta. I don't know how effective they actually are. We wouldn't dare go off-roading in something like this, but I did put it into sand mode when we were near the beach, and on some loose surfaces it did seem to hold its own well. Ride quality was a bit of a sticking point with the old Venue, and it could feel quite stiff-kneed at times. The good news is now here with the K1 enhanced platform, they have improved things considerably. There's a nice maturity to the ride this time around. It feels like a larger car. Those 20 millimeters of extra wheelbase seem to have widened its footprint quite a bit, and that's always welcome. That firm edge is gone, but it's still not completely sorted, and there are other compact SUVs that ride better than it. You feel a bit of movement, a little bit of bounce as you go over bumps or unruly surfaces. And yes, while it's not the best ride around, it's perfectly acceptable for a car in this segment. Now, steering and handling were never Venue's strong points, but I gotta say, there has been a slight improvement. The steering, unfortunately, still remains very light and very lifeless, but there is at least a directness to it now that is welcome. The lightness, of course, makes it great for use in traffic and in the city.
It's just that on a nice twisty road, it isn't tight enough to be enjoyable. That's fine in this diesel, but let's hope it's better in the N-Line.
It's got disc brakes at the front and the rear, and their bite is quite strong. Trouble is, it doesn't feel like the car can always keep up with those brakes, and it can feel quite disconcerting under braking, especially with the light steering that can shimmy around in your hands. So, all things considered, the Venue is a very capable car that's grown a little bit in maturity since the last one. This diesel automatic is a fantastic powertrain, very relaxed. But as before, it's not a car that likes to be hurried or should be hurried, and that's perfectly alright. Not every compact SUV has to be sporty. Well, not this one at least. You know which one does though. The N-Line. Yes, the Venue N-Line is back, and that's always welcome. I really personally like Hyundai's N-Line series of cars. Apart from the fact that they have a sporty sub-brand at all, which is always a cool thing, I like the effort that they make to differentiate the N-Line cars from the rest of the standard range. Now we've talked about what's different on the outside of the N-Line, but now here's what's different on the inside. For one, it's an all-black color scheme, and that suits the N-Line ethos quite well. It's got some nice red piping and detailing all over on the steering wheel, on the seats, and all around the car really. It's got an N-Line specific gear knob, and it's also got an N-Line specific steering wheel, and I really like this. It's got these nice thin spokes and this nice squarish center boss, and these two shortcut buttons, very AMG looking, that let you toggle through the drive modes and the traction modes, basically replacing the dial that would have been down here. On to the drive though, and of course the N-Line only comes with a 1-litre turbo petrol engine, and it's got the same 120 horsepower as you would get in the standard Venue. Does it feel exciting enough for something that carries the badge of a sporty sub-brand? I'm not so sure. It feels enough. Would I have liked a little bit more power and torque? Yeah, I do think I would. Because cool as this all is, it is a little bit more show than go.
The exhaust note is said to be sportier than the standard Venue Turbo, but frankly you can hear it more outside the car than inside it.
What's also important in an N-Line is the way it handles, and unfortunately there haven't been any mechanical changes compared to the standard car. I will say there is a bit more heft to the steering, at least at low speeds, but as soon as you pick up the pace it disappears and it becomes all loose in your hands once again, which is a little bit disappointing. Handling then, disappointingly, doesn't stray too far away from the standard Venue formula, which is a shame. I would have liked something a little bit better from this N-Line. You can tell that this car is riding on larger wheels because it deals with bumps not quite as well as the regular version. What I do like is that this powertrain, once you're done being sporty, is quite adept at being a regular petrol automatic car. Drop it down into eco mode with these buttons over here and yeah, it handles things pretty smoothly. The DCT gearbox can be a little bit snappy at the lowest of speeds, really crawling stuff. But once it gets going, it smoothens out considerably and then it shifts quite seamlessly and unobtrusively.
All in all, unlike the beautifully fettled i20 N-Line, this Venue N-Line is more of an aesthetic choice than anything else. But I guess for an SUV in this segment, that's okay. And they've certainly done their bit inside and out to make it look special. And speaking of doing their bit, Hyundai has thrown its full might into this new generation of Venue, and for reasons I mentioned at the start, it could not have been easy. That said, it has not come cheap, especially for top-end variants, which are at the upper end of the compact SUV segment. Could it be worth it though?
The Hyundai Venue then is kind of like a bonsai plant. It wants to be a big, tall, flourishing tree, but it's forced to live in the constraints of this sub 4 meter box. But like a bonsai plant, despite those restrictions imposed on it, it has flourished and I think looks rather good despite all that. Now mechanically it hasn't changed all that much, but it feels a lot more mature from behind the wheel and from the back seat, and that's a good thing indeed. The engines and gearboxes are largely the same, but the addition of a diesel automatic is welcome in this age of dying diesel. The big difference is the interior and how upmarket it feels, but more than anything else it's the new tech. This is a software-defined vehicle, which is actually a bigger deal than most people realize. And it's those two NVIDIA-powered screens that function so well and set a very high bar for this segment. As always, Hyundai has taken a more is more approach to the Venue, as it does with all its cars. There's more variants, like an N-Line right off the bat, and a lot of choice for buyers to pick from. And yes, the compact SUV segment may be a tougher one to play in for car makers, but if everybody has the enthusiasm as Hyundai, I'm sure it will thrive for a long time to come.